Welcome everyone to Community Connection, your window to the world around you. H2O, water, is one of the most precious human commodities and everyone's right to have it. And denying water to anyone is really denying everyone's human basic right. Today we have with us the chairperson for the Michigan Muslim Community Council, Muzammil Ahmed. Welcome to Community Connection, Muzammil. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, Siham, for having me.
Everyone knows by now, of course, the issue that happened in Detroit with the water shutoffs, which was extremely unfortunate. But there were solutions that were actually put into place. But before we get into that conversation, the Michigan Muslim Community Council. Now, you told me it's been around for the last 28 years, and your main mission is unifying communities, which
Yep.
is a fabulous mission. And boy, our communities need to be unified these days.
They do.
And so your mission is very, very vital. Tell us about the Michigan Muslim Council.
No, I'd love to. I'd love to. The Michigan Muslim Community Council has been around for 28 years. It was known as the Council of Islamic Organizations of Michigan.
Okay.
And several years ago, I think it's about 3 years ago now, it was rebranded. We had brought some more organizations under our wing, and we decided to change the name to the Michigan Muslim Community Council. And there's some pioneers in the community that had started this organization, and we really are obliged to them for the great work that they did. Our main focus now is unifying the communities, but we like to unify the communities about the good things, our values that make us hopefully an important part of the state. And we've always tried to do good things for our neighbors, good things for the state, and really bring out the best of the Muslim community and negate some of the negative stuff that's been out there.
Well, we'll talk about a little bit about that in a little bit too. But how large is the Michigan Muslim Community Council? Is it just local or is it national?
The council is statewide.
Okay.
We have members. The group itself has members from pretty much every major Islamic center across the state here. There's, as you know, well over 30 or 40 Islamic centers and mosques and nonprofit organizations. We have an excellent participation by both our Shia and the Sunni, African American, South Asian, Arabic parts of the community. The community itself is well over 250,000 people, as you know, perhaps even higher. And so our council seeks to be an umbrella for all of the mosques, the nonprofits, and the community centers around. And so it has a large board and a lot of participation, but we feel that there's a lot that brings us together, and we have a lot to offer the state and the country, and I think that's why we have stayed together for so long.
Is the board as diverse as you just mentioned?
Absolutely.
In terms of its representation?
Absolutely. About a third of it is African American, about a third is Arabic, and probably about a third is South Asian. And we try and have as much participation as possible from all genders also, and our youth and our seniors. So,
what kind of things do you do with the youth? Because I think that's really needs to be a focus.
Right, absolutely.
In this day and age, what are kind of the projects that you do with our youth?
For us, a lot of our youth work is making sure that individual mosques and centers have youth groups. We provide resources so that they can have youth groups like curriculums and try and connect them with youth directors. We have training. There's about at least a dozen youth directors already in our state employed by different Islamic centers. We give them training and workshops on how to connect with youth, recognize mental health issues, recognize drug issues. And then we also work with all the imams, the religious leaders, again, both Shia and Sunni. We bring them together every month. We help them with training on working with youth, recognizing some of the challenges youth might have. And our goal is, and we have a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong, but our goal is to make sure that our kids growing up in Michigan are both engaged, they have a self-confident, strong self-identity, and they can be great contributing members to our state.
Absolutely, very, very necessary. And what kind of outreach do you do? I know you do the water thing, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But what kind of other outreach initiatives do you have within the state?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of work.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is. We have, I'd love to, brag about some of the stuff we've done, but I just want to preface it by saying there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we see just the Islamophobia and the current misunderstandings out there as proof that we have a lot of work to do. But we try and we think that we can have the most impact as American Muslims by giving back to the state. So we have focused a lot of our work on trying to find great service activities to do. So for example, in the month of Ramadan, when Muslims are fasting, rather than just fast by yourself and make yourself a better person, as we try to do, we want to divert that energy and use it to benefit the state. So we have the Ramadan Fight Against Hunger, where in addition to fasting, we're also raising food, going to soup kitchens. Last year, we had I believe over 12 to 15 tons of food that was distributed to local food banks and soup kitchens. So
and that's really what Ramadan is about, to think about the less fortunate and to feed the poor. It
is. So those are the types of service activities. Another activity that we do is on Christmas Day, when a lot of our Christian friends and neighbors are celebrating the holidays, we join together with our Jewish friends and we go out and do a lot of service activities. So we're delivering presents to kids, we're working with Meals on Wheels, and in some ways trying to relieve some of the work and the volunteer work that our Christian community has to do and help our neighbors enjoy their holidays better. So again, I think there's so much work that needs to be done, and those are just some of the things that we've been trying to do to try and help the Muslim community be an important part of the state.
And that's what it's all about. It certainly is. Water, wow. I sort of was watching all the things unfold in terms of the water issue, and we actually had Warren Evans on the show, and we talked a little bit about it before, and that was just a mess. And thinking about shutting off somebody's lifeline, basically, is a horrendous thing. But I know that there was people on both sides of the spectrum, kind of thing. Where this is the city's policy. This is economics. This is what have you. And then you have the human issue on the other end. So, what was the vision to actually jump? Basically, and that's what you guys did, amazingly so, is jump right in the middle of it and come up with definitely a solution to many of the households in Detroit. Right.
No, we certainly hopefully did help a number of people, and the whole idea arose again. There's national
helping
coverage.
Your neighbor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was we love Detroit. Many of us are from the Metro Detroit area. And I think Detroit really had a black eye internationally. I mean, this is something that even the United Nations came to Detroit and said, this is horrific that you're shutting off water to people in need. And so we knew that this was a huge issue. And the giving of water is one of the highest forms of charity a Muslim can do. And so the idea of trying to connect the resources that are in the community to help the water situation came during the ISNA convention. The Islamic Society of North America had its 51st annual convention in Detroit.
Right.
And about 10 or 15,000.
Literally in downtown Detroit.
Yeah, in downtown Detroit. And we have many people from across the country that came. They saw Detroit. There's a great history of Muslims in Detroit. One of the first mosques was made in Detroit. There was a lot of passion for the city that developed there. And a lot of one of the participants there was a large organization, Islamic Relief, and we had a lot of discussions on how, with this much excitement about Detroit, where we can help, and we collectively came to the idea that perhaps funding the Detroit Water Fund would be a great way to allow us to fulfill our own obligations for charity, but also help the city in a positive way and help the people who came to Detroit feel like they left something behind.
And so what was the process? I mean, how did you say, okay, this is what we want to focus on. We want to try to make a difference here, within our city. And what you just said, Detroit has been getting such a bad rap, and it is a beautiful place, and it's a wonderful place, and it's got amazing individuals. But how were you received, and what was your sort of pipeline to that situation?
Yeah, well, we've been really fortunate with an excellent leadership team with Mayor Mike Duggan and his crew. The other key component of this puzzle was State Representative Rashida Tlaib, and who at that time she was a state rep covering that area. And
she's amazing. She really is.
We're very fortunate to have her as an advocate, and hopefully we'll see more of her.
I don't doubt that. She's an amazing individual, a good friend, and someone that has just really taken the ball and run with it. So very proud of her.
She, we at the ISNA convention, a lot of officials from the city of Detroit had been present, including their deputy mayor, and we initially got into discussion of how the community can help. And after having some discussions with the city's leadership team, with Rashida, we felt that utilizing existing funding mechanisms, specifically through the United Way and through Wayne Metro, would be a great way to use these funds. And so the Detroit Water Fund itself is run in conjunction with the City of Detroit's Water Department and United Way of Southeast Michigan. And what they do is they screen applicants, and when you donate money, it doesn't just go to whoever asked for it.
Right.
There's
a process there.
Yeah, a very detailed process. So we felt that was a great way to get money to people who need it. Then the second organization, which for us had been under the radar, but really Rashida had brought to our attention, was Wayne Metro. The Wayne Metro Community Council is a nonprofit agency which has been doing wonderful work in our area for many years. And one of the things they do is find people who've kind of slipped through the cracks, even that the Detroit Water Fund doesn't cover, but are clearly people, families in need, people with a lot of young children, may not have the proper documentation to fill out all the paperwork they need. But these are the people that Wayne Metro can go after. And we felt that this would be great to split the money between these two great nonprofits, covering people who have filled out, people who fit in both categories. And the rest, the leadership at each of the nonprofits were great to help us fill out the grant paperwork and made the appropriate assurances to make sure we get appropriate transparency in reporting, and we're able to get the funds transferred.
Amazing. Now, were those through grants? Is that how this money was raised?
Yes.
Or was it?
Yeah, the Islamic Relief is actually the largest charitable organization for Muslims in the United States. I think they raise many millions, almost over 100 million every year. So a lot of the funds had come from money they had raised elsewhere. And some of the funds had come from money raised in the state of Michigan. Michigan provides a big chunk of that change for Islamic Relief. And Islamic Relief, to its credit, was also looking for a way to help local hard-hit areas throughout the United States. And Detroit certainly fits the bill of being a place that's very hard-hit. They do give a lot of money overseas to areas that have drought and famine and things like that, but we can't ignore our neighbors, and Islamic Relief realized that and decided to invest the resources right into our state and this project in particular.
How have you seen this initiative play out within the city right now? I mean, any personal stories? Have you seen the fruits sort of
the labor
with individuals and households?
Right. It does make a big difference, and it's great to get the validation. There's a lot of, we've had some interviews with families who have really been thankful, letters that have been written, and a lot of these are from, again, families that try hard. They're single family households. The mother or the father are working minimum wage jobs, many hours, and they kind of got caught in all of the bankruptcy problems that the city had, and they made 1 or 2 late payments, and all of a sudden those late payments accrue, and they're months behind, and they get these shut-off notices, and so there has been a lot of, we really appreciate the thank you notes and the kind words that have been shared. already. But I really hope that, you know, I almost feel sometimes that these are just giving money is almost just a Band-Aid to the problem, and I really hope that our state leadership and our local Wayne County leadership and the city leadership really gets to more substantive problems that can take care of the poverty and some of these problems that are afflicting the city.
There's a video that I'd like to show right now for our viewers, so take a look at this video.
Back this summer, we noticed a huge increase in the number of people calling for help with water. Their water was being shut off because they were behind on their bills, and the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department needed to enforce their requirements and were shutting off the water. There were many people who could not afford to pay their bills.
Water is a natural resource that any human being needs. Far as keeping cleanliness around the house, cooking, bathing. Water serves just about every purpose in our everyday lives. So to be without water, it's just almost impossible to just have a normal, basic family function.
The Michigan Muslim Community Council reached out to us at the annual ISNA convention in Detroit, and we thought it would be important that the Muslim community in America work with the Muslim community in Michigan to help the general community or everyone in Detroit.
We thought as a Muslim community we can also donate $100,000 to help the city of Detroit's water crisis, help keep the water flowing to people, stop the water shutoffs, and hopefully this will be just a small part of the great turnaround that's occurring in the city.
With funds coming in to continue to help this project, we'll be able to reach more people. We'll be able to increase our amount that we are allowing for arrearage. It's not a good feeling to worry about if you can pay your bills or not.
For Detroit to turn around, everybody has to get on board, everybody in this state, and if we can excite people nationally to help out, by all means, let's do so.
We are very optimistic on solving this problem because the mayor's office, the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department, the United Way, organizations like MMCC and Islamic Relief are all coming together to work on it. And we know when we all work together on problems, we come up with much better solutions.
This is a city that helped to move the world, the Motor City. So we're trying to move some love back into the Motor City. And it's time for us to come from all different communities, from different places, to give them a helping hand.
Well, obviously, that has been quite an impact on the city. So give me your overall sort of result, or your overall sense of, you know, how this has really affected the council, and if there's any additional kind of outreach programs that are on the table.
Well, the cool thing is that...
And that's what it's about. It's about people helping people, you know, people helping your neighbors.
Absolutely.
And I'm all for looking overseas and looking for all the famine and everything that's happened over there. But I also think exactly what you said. You have to sort of look at your own backyard,
Absolutely.
too. And there's a lot of suffering. And people say, no, but nobody's going to go hungry. But there is hunger within our state, and it needs to be addressed.
No, absolutely. It's amazing. You read some of the statistics. I think 1 in 5 kids are hungry at some point right here in Michigan, and if we can't take care of our own backyards, we're in trouble. But you know, the result, or some of the benefits, or I should say, I mean, we've seen a lot of tangible outpouring of support and goodwill with this measure. And a lot of it is just from the Muslim community itself. They say, boy, we really want to do something. Thanks for
giving us an avenue to make a difference.
And so I think in this day and age, there's been a lot of negativity that's been out there. And being an American Muslim, you're constantly barraged with negative news, bad things that are happening. And for us to say, you know what? we can change that narrative. We can make a positive difference. We have the ability, just with our own resources, to help and be positive members and people that are appreciated as valued members of our country. I think that has. I think that's made a big impact. Not to mention certainly I think our own partners that we have, whether in government and our other nonprofits. I think they also really appreciate any group stepping up and helping in such an important area.
The conversation now is a lot of individuals get their heat cut off,
yeah,
and their electricity, especially in these frigid. I think our state sort of became a tundra. That's my famous word lately. It's a tundra, and it's just very cold. Under normal circumstances, it's hard, but under these circumstances, especially a lot of our seniors and a lot of the individuals. And I know there was one gal that called in who was a senior, and she called into one of the news stations, and she was able to receive some help. But a lot of people don't. There was a gentleman who last week, I think, was found dead in his home from hypothermia because they had shut off his electricity, and he was too proud to ask for help. And so those kinds of things are so important and so relevant, and those awareness really needs to be put on the table, so people can come and can help. And you can't shut. I understand economics, but you can't shut somebody's electricity off because they can't afford it. In minus 8 degree tundra weather at all times.
I think hopefully you will help us launch our next project. But absolutely right. I think that simple things like that, helping out with heat or with shelter. If we can't do that, then really, what can we do? So I hear you, and I think that hopefully we can. With sort of the success we've had already, maybe we can divert our attention and resources to helping in this matter too.
And I know you do a lot of work in the interfaith community as well, and bringing communities together of the interfaith type. And there was not too long ago I want to say gathering of interfaith individuals, basically talking about the issues that we're facing. The 3 individuals that were and the precious lives that were taken not too long ago, and what is happening, as a byproduct of that. Talk to us a little bit about that conversation.
Yeah, well, we feel that the recent killings of the 3 students in North Carolina was a result of a climate of bigotry and misunderstanding, and that led this poor individual who's misguided to make a decision to take the lives of these poor innocent people. And I think that certainly on one level there's a concern that we have about the rising Islamophobia and the bigotry that's out there, and but then on the other hand, we want to make sure that we take this opportunity to really educate people, and this is really what our organization tries to do: educate people about what being Muslim really is about. And we hope that this inspires people to get out of their safe spaces, and for Muslims in particular, to really make an effort to be engaged with people around them, because we know that being engaged with our interfaith partners, with other nonprofits, with the hustle and bustle of society is the best way to counter the stereotypes that are out there.
And I think doing that in this day and age has been extremely challenging, only because of the representation. And we have ISIS now under the auspices of religion and Islam. I mean, the most evil, the most, horrific individuals on the face of this earth, and unfortunately have sort of hijacked, the concept of their actions under an Islamic umbrella, which is so horrific and so untrue. And so I think the fear factor is very much alive and well within our country. And when you look at all of that, it is very, very challenging for individuals to understand, that this has been, it has been hijacked. It's more of a political platform, and it has nothing to do with, religion or Islam, especially. Islam says if you murder, if you hurt any living things, such as an ant, you will be held accountable.
Absolutely.
So, unfortunately, the things that are happening are so negating that philosophy from people who have hijacked, this premise, and so that challenge in trying to create that understanding and creating the platform for more dialogue is so much more important, especially within the interfaith community.
Absolutely. And we have wonderful partners in both the Christian community, the Jewish community, the Hindu community that we work with. But you're right, we have to counter this narrative. And, I often tell people the biggest victims sometimes of these hateful acts that are done by ISIS and some of these extremist groups are other Muslims. But
they're an equal opportunity employer. I think they're
unfortunately.
Across the board. They're just a murderous group of thugs.
But I think the best thing that we can do to counter that is fight it with goodness, fight it with service acts, fight it with reaching out to people, and then we also have to make sure that individuals in our own community, in the Muslim community, understand that they can make a difference, and it's up to each person to counter that narrative and prove really what they stand for by their actions. And I think in America, people are very smart. I mean, they see actions and they see results of actions, and that's how you prove your worth and your value to society. And that's why we have to step up as a community and in some ways almost go above and beyond giving back and being assets to this great country.
And I think we are all assets, and we are all part of the community, and we are all part of the landscape. And as you said, sometimes the international kind of occurrences fall very, very hard, and it becomes almost a responsibility to say, no, we are part of the landscape, we are part of the community, and we want good, and we want the same exact things. As the council, what do you have on the horizon? Really quick, I think we only have a minute left. What do you have on the horizon? Talk to us.
Well, we're in the process of getting prepped up for Ramadan. It's coming up in June, so we have the Ramadan Fight Against Hunger. We have a lot of additional outreach activities that we're planning to do with youth groups in this area. And we have Capital Day. Every year for the last number of years, we take American Muslims from across Michigan, from different cities. We head out to Lansing, and we meet the governor, the various state reps. We try and make sure that our leadership, our elected leadership, knows about the Muslim community and really knows what we stand for and what we'd like to see happen to the state over the next few years.
Oh, I love it. Capital Day. That's wonderful.
Coming up in May.
and the best part is for these kids to go and learn the system and be part of that.
Absolutely.
That whole process. Muzammil, thank you so much
Siham,
for joining us. The Michigan Muslim Community Council, really making a difference. Positive stuff, great things. Look them up. Thank you. This has been Community Connection. We'll see you next time.